Hey guys, what's up? I'm going to be reviewing a video by Ryan Humiston. Build more muscle in half the time.
The most common excuse that people use for not going to the gym is a lack of time.
The excuse that I would use is by simply looking at you. If somebody would ask me why I don't go to the gym, I would just say, look at Ryan Humiston. The guy is 36, basically my age almost. And looks like he's at least 50, maybe even beyond that.
But what if you could program a workout that normally takes an hour, but with the right techniques, you could get it done in 30 minutes? Would you do it, or would you still sit on your couch all day because you're a big fat mess? Now, before we dive into the research,
it would even be better to be a big fat mess than look this old.
This is a very important guiding principle. The 30-minute workout has to be just as effective as the 60-minute version because anybody can cut volume in half.
By the way, I shouldn't be saying look this old. I should say be this old. Because biologically, if you look like you're 50, for example, then you are actually 50. So this guy has reduced his lifespan by over a decade already, at least. Realistically more.
And create a shitty workout. Is it possible to produce just as much hypertrophy in 30 minutes? Surprisingly, yes, but there will be pain. The first obstacle we have to overcome is reaching the volume required to consistently build muscle. There's numerous studies trying to identify the optimal sets per muscle per week, and the only thing we can say for certain...
Yeah, there's so many studies about working out, muscle building, because it's what they are pushing. They want you to believe that it's somehow good for you, even though there's no proof, obviously. But they make it sound like it. That's why it's promoted and actually funded. That's why there are no studies about blood and hardly any about raw meat. It's because it's not supported. True health is not supported by science. Imagine doing a controlled trial on raw meat and blood. Compare it to veganism, for example. What would come out? Every marker is better. Nutritionally, everything is complete. Every health issue goes away, and so on. But no, of course. They make studies about, usually some correlation studies about building muscle, working out. Yeah, because that's what they want you to do.
There is a dose-response relationship between the number of sets and hypertrophy. This is from a meta-analysis looking at the number of sets per muscle group within...
This is a meta-analysis which shows you that working out reduces your lifespan. Moron.
A given session with less than 2 minutes of rest. As you can see, there is a ceiling and or leveling off point around that 15 to 16 set mark. So the more sets, the more muscle, to an extent. For me, the biggest takeaways, the most significant changes happen from one...
Yeah, the more you destroy your body, the more you will, of course, repair it. If the building blocks are there, in this case it's drugs. The testosterone helps with protein synthesis and so on. You probably already understand that. And that's why, of course, you can adapt your body to lifting metal. Cool. Well, great. You reduce your lifespan by probably decades. And now what you can do is lift metal. You can lift more metal than other people. Well, amazing. What an amazing life.
Here is a disgustingly complex illustration of the energy metabolism of skeletal muscle. To put it more simply, to help you understand the importance of rest, what we're dealing with during a working set is the simultaneous depletion of substrate with the accumulation of metabolic byproducts. Sure, you've seen some of these before. They're kind of a big deal.
Yes, it's essentially your body's response to damage and stress. In case you don't get it.
I don't know, maybe we shove an entire 8-ball of creatine up our ass and that enhances buffering capacity? Actually, turns out that would kind of work, minus the butt.
Oh my god, I can't take you seriously. You just look way too old. It's just, it doesn't matter what you say, absolutely, about any topic, because you ruined your body, you destroyed yourself. It's a clear sign of self-hate. You're a body destroyer, and you're teaching body destruction. Nuts.
Either way, creatine group increased power by 5%. When it comes to time-restricted...
The way you can get creatine naturally is by eating raw meat.
We've all had the anecdotal experience of training a smaller muscle group like the biceps that even when you pushed it to complete failure, if you waited a full 2 minutes of rest, it would feel like you're wasting your life. One of the main reasons is the simple fact that it's a smaller muscle, so there's less production of lactate and hydrogen ions to deal with. So that's something we have to factor in as well. Smaller muscle groups require less rest.
What are you talking about? I can hardly even hear what you're saying. All that I see is the horrible condition of your skin, even on the arms. What's going on there? Is it just pus and acne coming through the skin because of the drugs and horrible diet? I wonder what this guy eats. I didn't see any what I eat on the videos on his channel. Otherwise I probably would have reviewed that. And just the extremely dry and aged skin, those deep wrinkles. You just look completely abnormal for your official age. Hey, we can actually see what he eats or what? I guess that it's meat. Or it's cooked, obviously, with carcinogens on it and destroyed protein and micronutrients, but that's what you expect, right? And then rice with arsenic and just sugar. So yeah, might as well be eating candy. Candy, it's candy with it's arsenic-filled candy with meat.
Effects of straight sets versus drop sets. There is this particular study where it was basically a bunch of untrained college men. They hadn't trained in the past year, and they had them either do 3.
It's actually crazy when you think about it, how many so-called studies, as I said, usually correlation studies there are about muscle building, and there's just nothing about eating naturally or anything. That just says everything.
Straight sets or one single set that was a drop set they failed 3 times. The results, virtually identical hypertrophy. Now again, we're dealing with college kids who probably showed up to the study smelling like Little Caesars and ass, but still interesting nonetheless. I don't think we can go as far as considering every single drop just as good as a straight set, but definitely a viable.
He talks about hypertrophy as if it's something good, beneficial. He for sure doesn't talk about it as if you should avoid it. You don't want your body to be growing in any way at all. You want to stop the growing, obviously during puberty, that's a different story, but I'm talking about overall when you're an adult already anyway. You want to slow down the growing, which is the aging, as much as possible. You don't want to be in an anabolic state, a state in which you're growing. And of course you can't maintain this kind of an unnatural physique, which is why you need to be overeating and working out all the time, because your body otherwise goes back to its natural state. Your body is trying to survive and to live as long as possible, which is why you have to be disciplined and force yourself through this suffering and torture in the gym. I understand, of course, why he's so obsessed with working out. Just look at him, it's obvious.
Strategy for increasing volume in a very short period of time. So we're going to do a lot of those. Rest pause sets show very similar benefits, so we don't need to dive into the research. Just make sure you program them. What's odd, though, is that cluster sets actually showed less benefit. That's fascinating because the way I do cluster sets is very similar to rest pause sets, but instead of resting for 15 to 20 seconds between each fail, I don't. I take 1 to 2 breaths and then go again and fail 4 times instead of 3. So that should be better, but it's not what this meta-analysis shows. How is that possible? Turns out the scientific community has a very stupid definition of cluster sets. Say you're doing a set of 8.
Most of what you talk about doesn't even have anything to do with science. Science has to be provable, repeatable. You can't take these correlation meta-analysis studies and then look at many studies, even though all of them are just correlations, and then come to a conclusion. That's not science whatsoever. It doesn't even have anything to do with science.
Instead of pushing yourself to failure right around that 8 reps, you would just cut it in half and do 4 reps, rest 4 reps, and the goal is not to fail. Of course you're going to get less results doing that. Why would you even do that? So obviously don't program this one, but the one where you fail 4 times consecutively with very little rest, you start to question, is this even a good idea? Is this even safe? You're going to want to do that one.
None of that is a good idea. It's not even safe. What is wrong with this guy?
The last advanced training technique I wanted to go over is interset stretching. Now, it might seem counterintuitive because you're basically adding an additional 20 seconds to a set, but we're going to steal that from your rest time. And you have to use this sparingly because it's that taxing. So I do it on the last exercise for certain body parts because you can't do it for everything, but it's great for chest when you're doing dumbbells, calves, because you can just hop out of the machine at the end. But the idea is on the last eccentric, you go right into a deep, painful stretch and sit there for 20, 30 seconds if you can handle it. So
you go into a deep and painful stretch? Yeah, that's just what the gym is about. It's a torture room. You only suffer. There's zero joy and happiness in any gym. Even mentally, it's pretty bad to be around people who are grunting and just suffering all the time. There's only noises of suffering around you. How can that be good for your mental state? Just having people suffer around you? You just want to get out of there. You're suffering yourself and everybody around you is suffering.
Already sucks, and I'm just showing you how to do it. I would set this up as a 4-day split because it's just impossible to hit everything effectively in 3 days, and this is how I would split up each muscle group. Here's an example workout just in case you're having trouble programming it on your own. Looks pretty horrible, huh? Told you it was going to suck.
It's pretty sad that he dedicated his life to working out. You can see that he has videos about the chest muscles, back, triceps, biceps. Actually specific long videos talking about muscle groups. In nature, nobody even thinks about any muscles. You don't think about them in general, let alone about working out or concentrating on specific muscles. It's just such absolute nonsense. The only people who do that are people like him. You could see his face. That's the answer. You can ignore the whole channel and all of his videos. You look at his face and you know where he works out. Something's in my eye. It's just clear as hell. It's the same with Liver King. He came out recently saying that he was always insecure about his height, which is the reason why he works out. I don't know how tall he is. I never knew that he's short. Is he? I guess that he's shorter than average, maybe. Whatever the case, it bothered him. That's all that matters. And that's why, of course, he went on to use the drugs and try to get attention. Obviously, people like that need a lot of attention. The shorter you are, the more attention you will try to get. And the less attractive you are overall, the more you will try to be attractive, even though it's not possible. For sure not by working out. It's just all the same. It's always the same. It's just a joke of a channel and a joke of a life. You just watched a guy talking about correlation studies that has nothing to do with science for like 10 minutes. And it's all just about gaining mass, growing sideways, aging your skin, just because you're not happy with your body. It's just the worst thing you can do. You're just gonna look worse and worse. And we can see that. The guy just looks terrible. Absolutely exhausted. As if he's just done with his life. It's just over, basically. Fuck. Thanks for watching.